Most Americans don't know about this massive lake that used to exist in California, and how this gigantic body of water disappeared, all due to one crucial mistake by the U.S. government. The Central Valley in California wasn't always farmland. It was a freshwater lake called Lake Corcoran that flowed through the Carcanas straight into the Pacific Ocean. Lake Corcoran was by far the largest body of freshwater west of the Great Lakes, and was even larger than Lake Michigan. But Lake Corcoran's growing size actually started becoming a major problem. This lake got most of its water through rainfall and snowmelt, coming off the Sierra Nevada mountains as temperatures started rising rapidly. 6,000 years ago, unusually high levels of snowmelt was overflowing. Lake Corcoran this year, Nevada mountains today, get insane levels of snow in the winter. So you can only imagine how much snow and ice was on these mountains. 6,000 years ago, when the Earth was a noticeably colder planet, as the water and snowmelt was rushing down the mountains into the lake, all this excess water eventually needed to go somewhere. Water levels got so high the canals started forming in eastern California, draining water out of Lake Corcoran and into the Pacific Ocean. The lake was originally draining mostly through the Salinas River, which led out to Monterey Bay. Another one of these canals that formed north of the Salinas River was the Corquinas Strait, which led water to a low-lying valley off the Pacific coast. Water ended up settling in this valley and formed the San Francisco Bay. These channels got deeper and deeper, where more water was able to rush out of the lake and into the Pacific Ocean, with more water outflowing into the Pacific than inflowing from the Sierra Nevada mountains. Lake Corcoran eventually shrunk to just this body of water here, which would be noticed Tulare Lake. Tulare Lake was still the largest body of freshwater west of the Mississippi, and actually existed all the way up until 1930, when the U.S. government made their crucial mistake. California was entering a massive population surge in the mid to late 1800s, where the California gold rush was bringing people from all over the country to California. All had to be fed somehow, so farmers began emerging in the Central Valley, which used to be Lake Corcoran, and developed farmland in this lush region because it doesn't rain much in California. And the summer farmers were having a tough time growing crops in these hot and dry summer months. That's when they looked to Tulare Lake for help. Farmers began digging canals from Tulare Lake, which led water of stream to irrigate their land. Tulare Lake was still getting their typical inflows of water through rainfall and snowmelt. But now these outflows to California farmland was causing some volatility in the water levels. Eventually, in 1928, California entered an extreme drought, which led to even more pressure on Tulare Lake to provide much-needed water to California farmland. More canals emerged out of Tulare Lake running up the Central Valley, but this time, there weren't as many inflows this year. Nevada mountains weren't getting as much snow in the winter, and the summers were drier than ever at this point in time. There weren't many regulations on how much water individual farmers could use. So it was essentially a free-for-all between these farmers using as much water from Tulare Lake as they can get a hold of. As you might expect, Tulare Lake drained significantly in size to just 5% of its former water level. But to your surprise, even today in 2023, Tulare Lake isn't totally gone. Roads submerged, homes surrounded by water, chicken, dairy, and produce farms evacuated a ghost of a lake in Central California, resurrected Tulare. Lake rose to its highest level since 1935, just earlier this year in April of 2023, where water was actually flooding in many of the local communities in the winter of 2022 to 2023. California receives records snow and rainfall, which completely changed Tulare Lake's look. This lake had been dry ever since 1997. So communities started building houses, roads, farms, and businesses on the land, where Tulare Lake once was when all the snowmelt needed a low-lying region to settle. Tulare Lake came roaring back and flooded these newly constructed homes, farms, and businesses. The California government did their best to divert water away from where Tulare Lake once was. But gravity normally wins, and humans often lose. Humans would lose if temperatures continued to rise.